Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome back to LSRTV's Friday night doubleheader. It's the second part of our doubleheader feature here tonight on iRacing Live. It's Talladega Super Speedway. It's the iSuper Speedway series. It gets round number 9, race number 9. It's a feature race here tonight. B-Main up first, 25 laps. These guys to get qualified into the feature event. That'll come shortly following after that, and we'll get set for the big show here for a 50-lap feature race in just a little bit. But first, these guys, ones that aren't qualified in based on last week's results, have to get the job done here in order to get themselves into that main event in order to score points for this race. I'm Andy Kessler. Joining me in the booth here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway, you got Brian Macklin, who you can hear every Monday night right here on LSRTV for RSR, Full Throttle Cup Series. And, of course, our iSuper Speedway Series champion, past champion, I should say, Josh Ball. But he is leading the points battle as we go right now. We'll take a quick peek at that as Josh Ball is the leader. Not bad for yourself there, Josh. You got a win as well. Locked yourself pretty comfortably in the chase, and you're getting a 38-point lead over Frank Busilia, and it doesn't mean much because the chase will happen here in a few weeks. So, but for the time being, you got to be pretty happy with the way your season's going so far.
Yeah, definitely happy with the season so far. Got a lot of good top fives, and especially that win. The win was the biggest thing. Pretty much locked myself in the chase, and if I have a couple bad weeks here and there throughout the rest of the season, it really doesn't matter. It just allows me to go out and try to win and not really worry about where I am in points. But so far, so good, and definitely looking forward to tonight's new setup and see how everything goes out there.
Yeah, and a new rule change that has come into effect from a couple weeks ago. The last time we did this feature event or feature type style that we do every third week or so right here every Friday night on iSuper Speedway Series. And it's basically, we saw a couple weeks ago, a couple guys that didn't qualify for the A-Main, and it was guys that were in the points battle for the season and guys in a position to put themselves into the championship hunt when it comes down to the chase at the end of the season. And those guys, of course, a couple of them we'll talk about is Rod Flagg and Corey Henry, and just a bad thing that happened on basically lap number 1 going into turn number 1 the last time we did this, and they got caught up in an accident, kind of a freak thing. 52 of Casey Malone had a screen go black, and he couldn't see anything, and he was up in the front, too, inside the top 5, and took out quite a few cars. But because of that, they've taken a vote, basically, throughout the league and decided to change that up a bit. But so we'll see that into effect here tonight. Not quite sure exactly what the cutoff is yet for the guys who will make it from this B-Main to the A-Main, but we'll let you know as soon as we find out from race control. But we talked about the iSuper Speedway Series. Now the season keeps going on. You win and you're in. A couple guys have done that already through this season, including one guy who won last week when we ran our triple threat, we'll call it, our 320-lap races, 25-lap races that have no cautions. It's kind of basically a cumulative race is what they call it, and you get your points added up between the 3 races, and whoever has the most gets the victory. And Tom Moustakis was able to get that done his first week back with the iSuper Speedway Series. A pretty cool deal for him to come out with the win. Now all he's got to do is get himself to the top 30 in points. And when you race super speedway tracks, Brian, it's easier said than done, because pretty much when you come here, anything can happen.
Yeah, he's 52nd in points currently, so he's got a little bit of work to do. And like you said, when you come to a restrictor plate track, the racing is wild to begin with, and when you factor in that you need to be in the top 30 in points in order to make the chase, it's going to make for a very interesting night. I do believe that if there's anybody in this service that can do it, Tom Moustakis is the guy. He's been on here for a while. I've raced with him on these restrictor plate tracks for a very long time, and he has always been one of those guys that you have to contend with for the victory when it's all said and done. So if you have to put somebody in that position, I think he's the man for it. This is going to be a very interesting race, though. These guys have a new setup for tonight. The admins are trying to change the setup up to slow these guys down and give them a little bit more maneuverability on the track, and I'm really excited to see how it works when you have a full field out there. It should make for some exciting racing.
Yeah, hopefully it will get the racing a little bit better. We saw last week the top side, it just wasn't what it used to be in that last build, and nobody was able to get the suck up from each car. It was nothing like it was, and it was hard to make a run, especially on that top side, which we saw was pretty easy. So big thanks to Seth the Merchant and those guys for working on this setup over the last couple days or so to get this thing ready for tonight to get it out on the track. And we definitely seen speeds a little bit slower. About 193, 194 is about the fastest we've seen these guys in a pack. So to the naked eye, it's not big a difference. You know, when they're all running the same speed, they're still going fast. But when you actually can see how fast they're running, it's pretty amazing. When typically we're used to seeing them run here about 205 miles an hour through these corners. So it's fun to see that as well. Qualifying, though, it's come to a close. And a quick thought here. We just got the word. It's going to be the top 20 plus one provisional, whether it goes to a series points leader or it goes to a past champion or winner, whichever it deems to be, whoever's outside the top 20. So that will be what it is. 20 plus 1 at the moment is what will be the cutoff for the A main. So it looks like we got about 28 cars that have showed up for this B main. So that means at least 7 of them will not be going on to the A main, and they'll have to call it an early night. But we'll have to see all that action coming up, 25 laps of it. But it's time to go through the LSRTV starting lineup. And on the pole, after his 1 lap run, is all they got here, a 52.772 for that 32 machine. Seth the Merchant, he finds himself now on the pole in a good position for him as well. Paul Servant, he will start in the 2nd spot. Tony Fenn in the 78 will start 3rd. 4th goes to Chris Bassini. Dana Osborne will start 5th.
Christian Pedersen's going to start in the 6th position here tonight. Derek Walker will start in the 7th position. Casey Malone, he was the winner in the Rod Car Series at Dover just a little while ago. He's starting 8th. He's going to try to do the sweep tonight. Alex Hallinar is going to start 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Justin Anderson.
Chad Keene starts 11th tonight. Jeff Engleton is outside P13. The number 24 JR Motorsports Ford Fusion is Ryan Keese. William Roberts Jr. starts his outside of P14, and Matt Quick, number 89, rounds out your top 15.
Starting 16th, the 33 of Larry Camp. Donnie Giratano will start 17th. 18 goes to the 088 of Kent Connolly. Luis Calderon will start 19th, and 20th is Jared Haggerty.
Sean Turner will start in the 21st position. Daniel Ferguson will start 22nd. Raymond Evans will start 23rd. Dwayne Cooper is 24th. Shane McEachin is 25th. And then rounding out the rest of the field, Dan Harrington is the last car that took a time. He starts 26th. Brandon Chuburko will start 27th. And Brandon Cruz Monsivais, I can't say his last name, Monsivais will finish or start 28th here tonight.
Well, the field starting to roll off now, off the grid, and they'll get their cars up to speed here. And behind the pace cars, we get set to do battle in 25 laps. That's all it is. It's a quick, short little run. It's one of those that you don't want to find yourself in an accident early on. You're going to have a hard time getting your way back through the field. And for these other guys, any type of caution, it's just going to take away those green flag laps, the possibility of coming through the field, especially those guys that are outside looking in right now of that transfer bubble. So they got their work cut out for them to get up to the front and get to it quickly, because 25 laps, it may not seem like a lot, but at 55 seconds or so a lap, it's going to go by slow or fast, depending on how it goes. And some nights we see these things go green flag to checkered flag. Other times we see a couple cautions. Next thing you know, it's over, and we didn't get much racing. And some of those guys in the back of the field didn't have that opportunity to get it done. But I gotta say, Josh, I like that front row. Paul Servant, he's been showing a lot of speed the last few weeks, and gets an opportunity to start on that front row.
Yeah, definitely. He'll definitely be a good challenge tonight for that 32 Seth the Merchant. Unfortunately, wasn't able to lock himself in from the top 12 last week. Quick go through who's already locked in: Tom Moustakis, Mark Jorgensen Jr., Andrew Berger, Rod Flagg, Greg Hooks, Frank Busiala III, Rodney Wofford, Corey Henry, Mark Emery, Ray Rittenauer, and Jason Altmans, as well as myself, are all already locked into the A main for tonight. So if they're your favorite driver out there and you don't see him, they're already locked in. But as the pace car's already down, Andy, we're getting ready for that green flag.
That we are the B main here in the second half of the doubleheader right here on iRacing Live and LSRTV. And we got a green flag and we're off and racing here at Talladega. And just like normal, the top side, bottom side, they're all evened out now as they head back to turn number 1 for the start. The 3 wide action towards the back of the field. No surprise, that 3 of Brandon Chaburko, he's mixed in right with it right now, and they're able to settle it back out for the time being. That top side, they're getting a run down the back straightaway, Brian, and that 14 car looking to take over that race lead.
Yeah, very quickly, we're seeing that outside line's got a big head of steam down the back straightaway. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can carry that through turns 3 and 4 here on this opening lap. It looks like at the time they are going to be able to keep that momentum up. That number 1 of Chris Pizzini is pushing really hard on the back bumper of the number 14 machine of Paul Servant. He's trying to lead the first lap of this race. It's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line. Remember, here at Talladega, it's a little bit further down than at Daytona, and the 14's actually going to get the job done. He's going to lead lap 1 as they head back to turn 1.
That was a great job by that outside line. That's something we didn't see last week, so maybe the setup is working here so far, and we can see Paul Servant staying to that outside, not choosing to drop down to the bottom. Typically, we'll see him drop to the bottom, and you'll see that next guy in line about a lap take advantage of that. He'll go to the front. It seems like a leapfrog effect we see here week after week, Josh, and so far it hasn't been that, but it looks like they're going to do it now. There's a clear 2 cars now to the front. Maybe Paul Servant.
Oh, we got a crash going on behind. In the back. Oh, 2 cars. Oh, more.
4 cars. Shane McKeachin involved too in the aftermath there. Wow. Unbelievable accident right there early on in this. Caution out right here at the beginning of this. Only on lap number 2 going into 3 and 4. And hopefully we can get a replay up on your screen. And it is coming up on your screen right now. So we'll take a look at that. But it was going right through that backpack of the top guys there, and looks like just some trouble, maybe a little bit of contact involved there into the corner. It looks like, maybe it looks like a little bit of contact maybe there by Ramon Evans, and that just caused everybody to have some issues right there, and a bunch of cars going up into the fence and down into each other, and just a huge carnage early on. Larry Camp involved as well, and looked like it could have been a little bit of net code, but there's something going on there, Brian.
Yeah, it looked like to me he just got a little loose going into turn 3. Like he tried to turn the car down into the corner as if he was going to move to the bottom lane, and when he did that, the car just got extremely upset, and it sent him sideways, and then it just created a chain reaction effect behind him that caused a bunch of other guys to get caught up in it. He almost actually made it through this, Jared Haggerty did. He saved the car down on the apron, and he got it woed down, and then he got caught up in the 83 sliding down the track, and then he made contact with the number 28 machine as well. So almost made it through that cleanly, but unfortunately he's going to have a little bit of front end damage he's going to have to get worked on. And I believe, Josh, you have an update on that accident.
Yeah, I was just down listening to a couple of the radio chatters, and it sounds like the 23 just got loose on his own. He said he came up, and it just sounded like the guys behind him saw pretty much the air just get lifted off the back end. They're kind of loose on the outside going into that turn is what I'm hearing. So probably most likely a self-spin. I didn't see too much net code there, but it sounds like this setup's a little loose on the outside.
Well, I guess at times loose is fast, so I don't know how much that it takes into effect when you come to a super speedway or a plate track like that. Typically you want that downforce, keep that thing on the ground because you're carrying so much speed, but with this setup they put in, it's definitely cut the speed off, so in turns doing that, it'll make them a little bit looser on the entrance of the corner, and but hopefully it makes it better on the exit of the corner, because we've seen with that last build, these cars, after about 10-15 laps, they get real tight coming off the corners, and everybody starts pushing up to the top of the racetrack on corner exit, almost driving it as if we were on a 1.5 mile speedway, which is not something typically that you see when you come to these super speedways. So hopefully they fixed that part of it. I guess they fixed, as far as the build goes, a little bit of the tire wear as far as you come to these plate tracks. But we'll see as it goes here. Again, top 20 plus one will qualify out of this B main and move on to the A main. That'll come up just shortly after this race concludes. And Josh had talked about earlier, the guys that, including himself, that have qualified in after last week's race at the cumulative race that we had at Daytona, our second one of the season. And talk a little bit about that cumulative race. You had an opportunity to win the first time around The second time a little bit different. The strategy, it seems, Josh, too, as well for these drivers changed up a little bit last week. It seems that just trying different things, trying to see what will work and give you the advantage on that type of racing.
Yeah, the biggest thing is to make it through that first race and not get wrecked is really the biggest thing, because most of your guys last week that or the first time around that had a chance to the win, made it through that first race unscathed. May have had some issues in the second race, but really, as we saw last week's winner, Tom Mustakas actually got involved in that second wreck in the second race, but he was able to rally and get a good qualifying for the third race. But I tell you, really the biggest thing, Andy, is having enough people around you, good teammates, or at least people, not even teammates, somebody that's willing to go to pit road with you. Because a lot of times, we don't have caution flags in cumulative events. So, you're looking for people that you're going to trust going down pit road with you, that you can, that can also get on the brakes and not, run into everybody, and at least able to get out, get back in a pack, and able to try to make a run for the finish. But Tom, great job last week, and he was in the chat with a lot of us, so he definitely had some help. But definitely a great run by him. Great to see him back. So he was able to outsmart us all, even though he was never done a cumulative format before. So good job to him. But it's a very interesting type of race. I don't know how it looks from the booth, but it's exciting out there for us. It's more strategy than this type of racing.
Yeah, it's a little hard for us, I think, up at the booth, trying to keep track as we get to the second race and the third race. We get the points update each time, but it's hard to figure out where you're going, because if you finish in the top 10, you don't get to qualify in the next race after that. So you got to start from the back, and we saw Tom Mustakas do a great job with that and get back through the field both times. But we're getting set to get back under racing here, our first restart here in the B main of the iSuper Speedway Series. Feature event here this evening. Top side, that's Chris Passini. He was able to push Paul Servant to the lead. Paul Servant will lead us back to the green flag. Just to note, on that inside lane, though, second and third in line, you got teammates at 32 with Seth DeMerchant. Got help from Christian Peterson as well. Green flag back in the air. They got Casey Malone as well there. So we got some contact going on a little bit through the field there. Looks like the 24 machine of Ryan Keese involved with that. Maybe a little tap from Jeff Figlin there from the outside, but they're able to keep it straight now, and the battle continues now off of turn number 2 in the bottom side with the slight advantage currently that the Merchant giving Paul Servant a push to the lead.
Yeah, a little bit different story on this restart from what we saw at the initial start. The inside line's holding strong on the inside here. The outside line, led by Chris Passini in that number 1 machine, is not getting as much of a run. They do not have the help up there right now. Only 4 cars out there on the outside line, and actually it looks like it's going to be down to 3, maybe 2. Yeah, Chris Passini has lost all of his help now. He's going to drop like a rock. He's going to go from the front row on the restart back to around the 6th, maybe 7th position as they cross the line this time by. And very quickly we're seeing this run turn single file. And now we have a challenge for the outside line. The number 71 of Christian Peterson jumps up there. He has a little bit of help. He was not able to get the run though, so he falls back in line and he's back in 3rd.
Yeah, he thought about it, chose wisely of it. Now he's going to go out to the top side off of turn number 2. That's with his teammate, though, Seth DeMerchant now with a big push from Christian Peterson, and they're going to now take over the race lead. We'll see if that 32 drops in line in front of his teammate. He does. He's going to slow up, leave his teammate now out to dry, and I'm kind of surprised about that. That first run, we saw the 1 car of Passini give that 14 a push, but Paul Servant stayed to the top side till both of them were clear. But Seth DeMerchant said, hey, I'll see you later, teammate or not. You can go back there and fight it out with those guys inside the top 10. Seth DeMerchant, our new race leader here. And I don't know if they planned on doing that or maybe somebody's just not happy with the other guy at this point, Josh.
Yeah, I'm not real sure. Oh, a little bit of contact there. The 78 and the 8, or 71 and the 8. Sorry, that outside starting to reform back there around 6th place. Got a train of about 5 cars. Usually you're going to see, something on the inside that we don't really talk about. A lot of these B mains, a lot of people are just around to run the bottom. They just want to, run and get in the A main. That's really all they're doing. So I'm actually surprised I see a lot of 2-wide action right now. With this brand new setup, it's definitely making a little bit racier. As just pointing out, the cars are sliding around a little bit, but that 14's to the outside, hopefully getting a push from that 78 of Tony Fenn. 8 of Dana Osborne there as well. That 71 dropped back all the way outside. The 2 car. Again, another self-spin. Technically not totally spun yet, but he's able to save it. But another
contact
time,
down the back straightaway. It looks like the 3 of Brandon Chaburko made some contact with the 36 of Sean Turner. No caution sent Sean Turner in the 36 down to the inside wall. The 3 of Chaburko continues on his way, so that's exactly what the 36 did not want to see what happened there. He was running in that 17th spot. Some heavy damage to the front end of that race car now, and that's going to drop him outside that bubble. 20 plus 1 is what's going to move on from this B main to the A main just a little bit later on down the road. Top side, like you mentioned, though, starting to gain a little bit of momentum.
Oh, there's another loose one. The 78 up and over, upside down, the 20, the 24, the 1. All of them in it. Another one just lost the air off the back end, Andy, and that just took out a whole bunch of cars.
Yeah, maybe this setup wasn't quite exactly what they wanted. I don't know. Maybe these guys just haven't figured it out, but I'll tell you what, that was some hard hits by a bunch of guys right there. And I'll tell you, Josh, you talked about it not being in this main with a new setup. Now you have no track time, and now seeing what you see on the racetrack. I don't know, man. You a little nervous about later on?
Actually, I think it's going to be kind of fun because, a little bit looser makes it a little bit more fun to drive. I really hated when we had to lift in the corners and, lift to drive it or to make it through the corner, really. Now, you might need to lift on entry here a little bit to get it set, but you got to drive the car. Whereas if we were, a couple weeks ago, it was just pushing so bad that you weren't really as driving it, you were just guiding it. You couldn't really do too much. But here, it seems like you're able to drive it, and as long as you get your car set up for the turn, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there not feeling the same as I am, but we'll see.
Well, it's because they're in there driving it, and they know exactly what it feels like right now, and that's probably why they don't feel the way you do. But watching it on TV, it definitely looks like that there's passing. There's the ability to do that, but for some reason there, the air off the back spoiler just seems it's twice now we've seen basically a self-spin at Daytona, which is very uncommon, Brian. I mean, we've said how many races have we done broadcast-wise over the years here on LSRTV and at these plate tracks, and just things like that. That's not something it's not something you typically see when you come to these places.
Yeah, it's not something you would expect to see, but it definitely makes this more of a driver's race because now these guys are actually going to have to deal with some handling issues on these cars. I'm excited for this. It's made for a little bit of a wreck fest early on in this race, but it's going to make the racing, I think, better overall because it's going to make it more challenging for these guys. They're going to have to be more careful with their moves. They're going to have to be more strategical with the decisions that they make, and I think from that standpoint, it's going to make the racing a lot more exciting once they figure out how to drive this thing without getting loose and spinning like that. I enjoy this kind of a challenge from it being inside of the car. Watching it up here makes it fun as well, but I do enjoy the challenge when I'm down in the car dealing with this type of a situation. This is one of those deals that you definitely enjoy when you're down there, if you can hang on to it. When you're the guy that's getting wrecked or wrecking because you can't control it, that's not so much fun.
No, most definitely not. And we know, this setup kind of reminds me of maybe a couple builds ago, maybe towards the end of 2015, Josh, when you guys had, I remember jumping in one of the cars just trying to feel what the setup wise, and because a lot of you guys were saying it was loose. So maybe it kind of reminds you of that one, that setup that you guys had a couple builds ago, maybe.
Yeah, and honestly, it was crazy back then. It was fun to drive though, but we were going back and forth every week. We were in a loose setup, we were in a tight setup, we were in a fast setup, we were in a slow setup. So, now that we're slowing down a little bit, we're loose. We kind of went with what the majority of the guys wanted, and that was a tighter setup, which personally I like the looser setup. Made you able to drive it more, as we were talking about there, like Brian pointed out. And I don't know though. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, like I said, I haven't driven it, so I might have some more feedback after the race or for next week. But totally different track then, so I'm sure we will not be using this setup. But so far, so good. Interesting, at least. Not that boring. That boring stuff. No caution. So it's been interesting out there so far.
It definitely has been. Across the line this time, it'll be about the halfway point here of this B main here in the beginning of this feature event here tonight for the Ice Super Speedway Series. And Seth the Merchant, once he's taken over the lead, has continued to do that here so far, all the way up from the 13th position in practice. Qualified on the pole, and right now runs in the top spot right now. Casey Malone, he's second, third. Justin Anderson, Paul Servant, fourth. And Alex Hallinar rounds out the top five. A couple other notable drivers that have worked their way up through the field. Brandon Chaburko from 27th to 10th here in the opening 12 laps of this one. So he's made his way from outside looking in to inside, trying to qualify himself to the A main. A lot of times, week after week, we see these guys, like Josh had mentioned earlier, just kind of ride around. We're inside the top 20. We don't need to win. You just need to qualify to get to the A main. That's all that you need to do. But yet, we see these guys week after week. They just love to race at these restrictor plate races, and it doesn't matter what it's for, if it's for a trophy or not, like they'll be running for later on tonight. You're in that car, you want to win. I mean, that's the mentality of these race car drivers, whether it's on the sim, in real life, or wherever it is. It doesn't matter. Whenever you strap into that car, you want to go out there, you want to be the best, you want to beat all your peers at it, and show everybody that, hey, I can get the job done.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've been in the league since I think it was its second season in Super Speedway Cup, so quite a few years ago now, probably 5 at least. And it took me a long time to get that first win. And I tell you what, just sitting back and seeing everybody else here in iSuper Speedway, you get a trophy if you win a race here in the Rad Car Truck Tour or Super Speedway. You get a trophy. That's A main feature race, the final races or the Truck Tour. And I tell you what, for the longest time, I'm like, man, I'm never going to win. And it was so close so many times, second place, third place, first place on the last lap, lose it. It was really a bummer. But then once you're able to break through and get one of those trophies in your hand, you're kind of like, all right, I'm okay at this. I'm doing pretty good. Build your confidence, and but a lot of guys out there still haven't won one of these, and I just hope that all of them can experience at some point to win one and get out there. Just like you were saying, everybody wants to win and get a hand on a real trophy here. That's one of the greatest things here on iSuper Speedway that Rod Flag puts out, and makes it definitely fun, and especially coming to watch the races over again. I can't tell you how many times people just tell me about it, or myself just watch it and listen to the broadcast, and it sounds great. It just sounds like a real NASCAR race. So thanks again to LSRTV and Rodcar for putting it on. But it's one of those things, Friday night, I look forward to every week. I don't know about the 50 other guys in the league, but it's for sure one of my favorite things.
Well, it's definitely fun to do this every Friday night, the doubleheader, we like to call it, and some little truck action we had earlier on, and plus next week, first race up next week, we'll get some IROC action, the second of 4 races at the Daytona Circle 07 track, and right after that, it's a throwback race with all the drivers getting paint schemes of old WWE wrestlers all over their cars, so hopefully you tune in next Friday night for that as well. That should be a lot of fun. Evan Pasoko will be back in the booth for that, and he'll have some catchphrases going on for that race as well. So I'm working on my Macho Man Savage, getting ready for that. But we're all getting set ready now for the green flag. Seth the Merchant on the bottom side. He will take the green flag and he will lead that bottom side. A little bit of separation right there. Looks like the 64 of Alex Hallinar fell back there, and that's going to make it 3 wide as the 9 and now the 89 of Matt Quick will now make his way up through there. So a tough start there on the bottom side. That really checked up the bottom there, Brian.
Yeah, it did, and now the bottom has the advantage, though, because there's only 2 cars out on the outside line. You've got Paul Servant trying to push for that, push the number 52 machine on the outside of Casey Malone, trying to get him up there, even with the race leader. For the time being, it's not going to happen. He's sitting back around the 3rd position. They're going to need a few more cars if they're going to make this work. We saw this on the last restart. That outside line did not get going the way they needed to. that once they get a few more cars up there behind them, they might actually be able to make something happen. But for the time being, Seth the Merchant pulls that inside line around. He is pulling the number 77 of Justin Anderson to the line here. Justin looks like he's going to peek out. He tried for a second. He thought better of it. He's going to stay in line. And now Casey Malone's got a couple of more cars up there trying to help him get up to the race lead.
That strength by numbers, that's what gets it done on the top side. And currently only 3 cars looking to make anything happen up on that top side. I wouldn't be surprised. We see that 77 maybe jump out in front of these guys. That's usually where it happens, about second or third. They'll jump out in front of that top pack there as they get a run heading into a corner. Not going to happen this time as they are still stuck back there racing for that third spot currently, and that's Osborne now in the 8 car on the inside in that third spot. And he's got the 71 of Christian Peterson just behind them, and just as I said it, there he goes. He jumps to the high side looking for help from Casey Malone there to get to the front of the field. Going to suck that bottom side up now, move that Christian Peterson 71 machine now into third in line on the bottom, and look at that 8 start to gain a little momentum now on the top side. It's still only 3 cars though on that top side, so the number still isn't there for them to make a push for the lead.
I'll tell you what, Andy, though, I think that outside definitely has potential tonight as you see Traburco jump back up to the outside. There's the runs there. You can definitely get a good run as you see 2 guys, able to already pull, getting close to pulling even with that third car in the backstretch. The run's able to get there. It's just whether you're going to get loose or not. And that outside seems like, if they can get some more cars up there, they definitely have a chance to get up to the front. 52's looking to the bottom. He's going to be there, but looks like Christian Peterson no longer wants to wait. He's going to the outside of the 77 of Justin Anderson.
He goes to the outside now. He's got the 9 machine of Chad Keene just behind him, and the 8 of Dana Osborne. They're going to push them up almost equal now to the race leader here as they get set to exit turn number 2. This might be the chance the top side has now as they get Christian Peterson leading them down the back straightaway. Going to lose a little bit of momentum right there because that 9 wasn't able to time the push to the back bumper. They can't push through the corners. So it's really all about timing when you exit the corners.
Oh, the 77's loose on his own.
Trouble. Yeah, the 77 loose. Able to somewhat hang on to it. He's going to come up the track. Stays in it, and that's going to jumble things up there in the front. Cause the 71 to go to the high side there. He's going to fall back now behind the 9 of Chad Keene, and that'll kill the momentum that the top side did have right there, but a good heads-up play by all those drivers to miss that.
Yeah, that was very impressive by all those drivers to avoid the number 77 of Justin Anderson. That killed the outside line temporarily as now Casey Malone looks like he's going to try to sneak up there. Is Traburco going to go with him for the time being? Yes, he is. He also has more help. 3, 4 cars behind him trying to make the outside line work now. They got a big run down the back straightaway. They're going to challenge Seth the Merchant for that race lead. And now, as we say that, it's only Casey Malone and Seth the Merchant. Brandon Traburco. Now the 9 jumps up there as well. These guys are trying to make that outside line work. And I'll tell you right now, what I have seen, this outside line struggles to work because there's no commitment to it. You get a couple of guys that are able to get up there and that want to go up there, but they don't have enough people going with them. Casey Malone, meanwhile, just took the lead. He cleared Seth the Merchant. He's to the lead with 4 laps to go.
We got 6 to go actually as they cross the line right there to work lap number 20. Excuse me. Yeah, it is 5 laps to go. Excuse me, because we only have 24 laps in this. Every time we run these, it changes. It must change. I don't know. Last time I thought it was 25 and 50. I guess tonight it's 24, and I guess the aim will probably be 47 or 48 laps. So We'll keep an eye on that when we get in, and we'll make sure we do that right. My mistake for calling it a 25-lap race. It's only 24 for this one, so one lap less, 2.66 miles less to get it done for these drivers to come out of here with the win. Right now, Casey Malone, as they cross the start-finish line to complete lap number 20, gives them 4 laps to go here. And they will race back into turn number 1. Everybody's single file, though, just kind of waiting it out. And at this point, though, I mean, this is the time of the race where you got to say, hey, look, I'm in the top 10. I don't really have the opportunity to win because I'm sitting back here in 5th or 6th. So, let's ride it out. Let's just get into the A main. I learned some stuff. I figured out what these tires are going to do. I figured out what the setup's like, and maybe these guys will do that. But this is the iSuper Speedway Series, and just when we think they're going to do that, they all jump out to the outside and make a race of it.
Yeah, and you got to think now, all these guys are a couple self spins there from second place. Justin Anderson at least able to stay on the lead lap, actually still in contention to transfer. But, you know, these guys at this point, if I was down there and running any of those top 10, 15 positions, I'm just like, I'm riding. You know, I'll let off if I have to. I'm not trying to pass at this point. You know, you're looking at 20th place right now. Shane McKeechin has a good cushion between himself and 21st, Jeff Figlin. So, really, as long as you're one of those guys, just ride. Just, you know, just get to the end here. You only got a couple laps left. You're all going to make it into the A main, and then we'll see from there. That's the points race, not this one. So just make it through, and I'm sure somebody's going to go for the lead, though.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I think if I'm Seth DeMerchant, however, while I agree you want to try to make it to the checker flag, that way you don't fall out of this and lose your spot as a transfer car. And actually Seth is locked in, I'm just now hearing. But even so, in that second position, especially in his case, since he knows he's locked into the next race, into the main race, what do you have to lose? Take a chance and figure out what this new setup's going to do. Take a chance and see what kind of move you can make on the last lap. They're coming to they're at 2 to go now. They're coming to the white flag next time by. This is your opportunity. Make a move and see what happens. If it fails, you still have another race in a little while to make up for it and try again. This is a big opportunity for these guys.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's obviously the last lap is where to get the job done. And typically, I'd say probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, the guy leading the last lap at the white flag doesn't typically be the guy that gets the checkered flag. So with that said, obviously everything likes to go down usually on that last lap at Daytona or Talladega, and they're going to get that opportunity now. This time by, white flag will be displayed. One more to go, and for Casey Malone, I wouldn't say he's safe at all right there. Right now as the race leader, he's got that 32 machine. Seth DeMerchant, our past champion, our most recent champion, at the end of 2015, and he's looking to get a win, at least a heat win, here tonight in the B main. And they exit turn number 2 down the back straightaway for the final time in this B main. We get some takers, at least one to the outside at the 89 of Matt Quick. No help for that 89 machine. He's going to fall back now, at least to that 6th spot now as they exit turn number 4 for the final time. We'll see if Seth DeMerchant has anything. He makes a little contact, goes to the outside. He's making a run for it. However, look at that 8 car of Osborne. Makes contact. He's going to go through the grass. Casey Malone's going to win the B main.
And unfortunately, that 8 just went down pit road, flipped over a couple times. I'm not even sure if he did cross the finish line, but I'm not sure how that's gonna score that is. You're gonna see the replay go up. He took a huge hit off the side of that 32, and unfortunately he's gonna go down and he's gonna get into the pits. That's gonna give him a black flag. So I'm not real sure how race control is gonna handle it, but technically he may not be in a transfer spot at that position, but he took a huge hit after that.
Yeah, that was a huge hit. Hopefully he's virtually okay on that one. We don't have to send him to the hospital. But it looks like the provisional will be the 35 machine, actually, will be the provisional. So Brandon Monsivice will get that transfer position, and that'll put him into the A main. So a rough start for that 35. Caused him to be 15 laps down here in this one, but it looks like that he'll be able to move into the A main. Top 20, that transfer, they look like this. Casey Malone, Seth DeMerchant, Paul Servant, Chad Keene, Matt Quick, Brandon Chaburko, Christian Peterson, Donnie Giratano, Jared Haggerty. Ryan Keese will make it. Dwayne Cooper, William Roberts, Justin Anderson, Louis Calderon, Larry Camp, Kent Connolly, Chris Fassini, Daniel Ferguson, Shane McKeechin, Jeff Figlin, and, of course, Brandon Monsivice as the provisional. With that said, those guys will move on to the A main. That'll come up just momentarily right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. But for that, we'll hope you tune in and stay with us momentarily. The A main coming up next right here on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. We'd like to welcome you back to Talladega Motor Speedway for the A-Main. It's time to get the A-Main underway. We just concluded the B-Main here tonight in the iSuperspeedway Series, the feature night here at Talladega Motor Speedway. And a beautiful, or a fun race we had there at the end, and a pretty good battle for that B-Main win. Of course, no points or no trophy was on the line, but just a spot to compete here tonight in the A-Main. And, of course, that will consist of 47 laps here in this race here tonight at Talladega. So 47 laps, not a lot of time for these guys, Brian, to get the job done, relatively speaking, when a lot of these races, when we come to these super speedways, when you talk about league races, are in the upwards of 80, 90, 100 laps typically. And even the endurance races in this series tend to be around 125 laps. So when you're talking 47, that's a pretty good little sprint. That's all you got here tonight.
Yeah, 47 laps is a pretty fun distance. It gives you enough to where you're going to have to pit for fuel at least one time, and it definitely just creates an environment where these guys are going to have to be up on the wheel from the drop of the green flag. They can't really afford to lay back. We saw in the B-Main racing that you could actually make the outside line work, but you had to worry about the outside line getting a little loose, so that's going to be something to watch in this race as well. Of course, some of these drivers were in that B-Main race, so they already know what to expect, but for our colleague Josh Ball and a host of others, they may not know what's going to happen for them, so it's going to be interesting to see how these guys handle it tonight. It's going to be a very fun race to watch.
It absolutely will. And last week's winner, Tom Moustakis, back in action here tonight, making his second appearance in this season here. Early on, we're only doing, this is race number 9 of this iSuperspeedway series, and get 3 drop weeks, of course, in the first 15 races, and that'll set us up for that championship run when the chase begins. Win and you're in. That's what it's all about. Tom Moustakis, he was able to get the win last week. Now he's just got to get himself into the top 30 in points, and he's got his work cut out for him. He sits about 52nd right now in points, only making his first start last week, so he's got a lot of work to do, but at the same time, a lot of things can happen, and you talked about it earlier this evening. If there's a guy that could do it, it's definitely Tom Moustakis. He's got the experience at the super speedway plate tracks, and he's got the experience obviously in this series. It's just been a while and took a little hiatus, but now he's back in action, and he comes back in his first week and gets his first win.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think he can definitely get the job done. Right now, these guys are doing their qualifying laps, single-car qualifying attempts. They get one lap at speed to make a lap and see what they can do. So it's going to be very interesting. Right now, Mark Jorgensen is the provisional pole sitter, but most of the field still has to qualify, so that could certainly change. It's going to be a very fun race, though. I'm looking to see if we have anybody that chooses to start from the back, and if they do, what they are going to be able to do coming up through the field to see if they can make the outside line work to make the moves they need to make to get to the front. It's going to be very interesting. I know Brandon Chaburko is typically one of those drivers that does that, so he's one that I'm looking to see hopefully start from the back, because that'll make it very exciting if he does.
Oh, it always does. 3-wide action on lap number 1. Well, that's definitely what we'll see if we see that 3-car of Brandon Chaburko start in the back, but it looks like he throws a qualifying lap out there. And provisionally right now, with only a couple minutes left to go in qualifying, he sits 11th on the speed boards. Well, make that 12th now as he gets bumped down one more spot, make it another spot now. As we're talking, he keeps getting dropped down. He's down to 13th, 14th now as they continue to run through qualifying. We're going to send it down trackside, though, for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say
We want to thank Jaden Berkey for that rendition of tonight's national anthem. And qualifying is about a couple seconds from being complete here. It looks like everybody that is going to take a lap has taken a lap here in qualifying. So it's time to run through the LSRTV starting lineup. And on the pole, just like last week, Tom Moustakis in his second race back, the Ice Super Speedway Series. He will get his second pole of the season with a 52.771 and that best 5/1000ths of a second over Seth the Merchant. He will start second. Third goes to the 7 of Rodney Wofford. Mark Jorgensen Jr. will start fourth. And rounding out the top 5 will be that 87 of Ray Rittenauer.
Paul Servant will start in the 6th position. Rod Flagg will start 7th. Corey Henry is 8th. Jason Altman will start in the number 51 and 9th. And Josh Ball, our colleague, he's starting in the 10th position. He's going to try to get there and win this race tonight.
Casey Malone, winner in the truck race earlier this evening. He will start 11th. 12th goes to Chris Passini. Shane McEachin will start 13th. 14th goes to Andrew Berger. Dana Osborne will roll off 15th.
16th is Brandon Chaburko. Matt Quick will start 17th. Frank Busilia III will start 18th. Ryan Keese will start 19th. And rounding out the top 20, Donnie Giratano starts 20th.
21st is going to be the 35 of Brandon Montsevice. 22nd goes to Christian Peterson. Chad Keene will roll off 23rd. 24th goes to Jeff Figlin. And Justin Anderson will start 25th.
Starting in the 26th position, Luis Calderon is starting 26th. Mark Emery will start 27th. Kent Connolly is 28th. Dwayne Cooper starts 29th. And rounding out the top 30, Daniel Ferguson.
31st starting spot will be the 23 of Jared Haggerty. Larry Camp will start 32nd. The last car to take time in qualifying, that's the 98 of Greg Hooks. He will start 33rd. And William Roberts Jr. in the 54 will round out tonight's 34-car field. The field start rolling off now down the front straightaway as they get up to pace speed, and we get set to do battle for 47 laps here tonight at Talladega for the Ice Super Speedway Series A Main, the feature event of the evening. Quick note on programming note is next week, Throwback Week. They're calling it the IROC Series here at the Ice Super Speedway Series. Will get set to get its race number 2 of 4 underway next week. Of course, that's coming at Daytona Circa 07 track. If you like a bumpy restrictor plate racing, that's exactly what you're going to see next week. And they're taking an update coming in iRacing. They're taking the restrictor plates off of those cars, so we're going to see some outrageous speeds, I believe, next week for that race. That should be a lot of fun. Hopefully you tune in 8 p.m. Eastern right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live for that event. And then the main event, an endurance race at Daytona Circa 07. It'll be these same Gen 6 cars you see right here taking battle to that with a little bit of a twist. All these guys will be running some interesting paint schemes as they look to represent some of the old WWE stars from back in the day in the 80s and early 90s. And should be a lot of fun and be interesting to see some of these paint jobs that these guys come up with for next week. I've seen a few of them and they look pretty neat, and it looks like some of these guys will have a lot of fun with that. And I'm sure Evan and myself will have to brush up on some commentating lines that we'll have to throw out there, and we'll work on some of the most famous lines that you can think of from those guys there. Pace car though, down to the safety of pit road, and Tom Moustakis will bring us to the green flag, and we're underway here at Talladega. The A main, 47 laps on docket, and the top guys, all of them, double file now as they head to turn number 1. Seth the Merchant able to keep that outside line, at least for the time being, side by side with the race lead.
Trying to get a little bit of side draft as they work off turn 2 down the long back straightaway here. He's got the advantage as they get off turn 2 working down this long back straightaway. He's going to need some help from the car behind him if he's going to get clear. That's Mark Jorgensen in the number 88 trying to push him along down this back straightaway. We saw it in the B main. That outside line worked on the initial start. Right now, for the time being, it's working again. Seth the Merchant pulling that outside line around. He's losing a little bit of momentum as they work through turns 3 and 4. Tom Moustakis is going to pull that inside line ahead, and he is looking to lead the first lap of this A main race here at Talladega Superspeedway. It looks like he's going to get the job done. He's going to lead. They're jumping around, sparks flying everywhere behind them. These guys are already getting really aggressive in the back.
Yeah, that they are. It's go time. I mean, a 47-lap race, it goes by pretty quick. So these guys outside the top 10, outside the top 15, they're looking to make some noise early on. Top side, gaining a little bit of momentum right now. Set the Merchant off of turn number 2. You're going to get a little bit of a help right there from that 88 machine and the 14 of Paul Servant now as they try to make something happen. Looks like they're going to stall out about even right now for the race lead as Tom Moustakis continues to lead that bottom line. And you got to look at that 7 car, Rodney Wofford, the all-time winningest driver of the Ice Super Speedway Series, right there on your back bumper of Tom Moustakis. And I guess that's one guy with the experience that he has. You'd like to see him on your back bumper like that. You know he's going to give you a good push.
Yeah, amen to that. If you've got a guy like him behind you, you know you're going to have a good push. You know you've got somebody that you can trust and that you can rely on. And right now, that's exactly what Tom Moustakis wants. He needs that number 7 right behind him here, pushing him as hard as he can. Seth DeMerchant has a good driver right behind him. That's Mark Jorgensen. A whole host of veterans at the front. Seth DeMerchant is trying to edge ahead for the race lead right now. Is he going to be able to get clear to the inside? The answer right now is no. He does not have the momentum. If he gets clear, it's going to be very, very interesting to see. Does he jump down in front of Tom, or does he stay up high? For right now, he doesn't have that option. He's going to have to stay up high and keep that push from behind from Mark Jorgensen. Remember, these guys in the Ice Super Speedway Series, they cannot push in the corners, so they have to back off and give a gap between the car in front of them when they get to the corners. That can hurt the outside line, though, because they lose that momentum that they get by having them locked together. Is Rodney Wolford in the 7 going to try to move up? He looked like he was for a second. He's going to stay on the inside, though, for the time being.
Yeah, that is a move we see time and time again. That 2nd or 3rd car in line on the bottom jump out in front of that top side, especially when they get the momentum. Rodney Wofford unable to do it at that time, and Seth the Merchant going to get a pretty good run down the back straightaway. You see that 88. It's all about timing on the exit of the corners, and they can't push, like we said, in through the corners. You can see right there just the timing the 88 got to the back bumper right on corner exit of turn 2. And that was enough momentum to put that 32 machine out front now as they head down the front straightaway through the trial. That the Merchant, our new leader here at Talladega. You see that 88 lose the momentum, fall back now to the clutches of that 14 machine of Paul Servant. He's got Corey Henry, he's got Josh Ball, Chris Bassini, as well as a couple other cars there, including Brandon Chiburko in that 3 now, up to that 13 spot now. And that top spot, still got plenty of cars up there to get the job done. And you can see it right there off of turn number 2. 14 of Paul Servant trying to get that 88 now back to the race lead as Mark Jorgensen Jr. is looking to lead some laps here. He might have him clear. Does he drop in front? He thinks about it, but he stays up high for the time being.
Yeah, he thought about it, and he might have been able to make that move, but it was a very close situation there. It was very possible that he would have not been clear and could have caused a big wreck. And Mark Jorgensen, being the veteran that he is, he knew that that was a very risky move, and he decided better of it for the time being. He is going to lead here as they complete lap 5 and begin lap 6, and he's very clear to the inside if he wants to make that move, but it looks like he's going to try to bring Paul Servant with him before he makes the move to the bottom. He's committed to bringing that 14 with him as long as the 14 can push him, so he's going to stay on the outside line for right now. And I tell you, through 6 laps, and I take it back, he's on the inside line. He jumped down and got clear to the inside. But back to what I was saying, and now he's moving up to the outside. He's trying to work the lanes. This is Mark Jorgensen doing what Mark Jorgensen does best, but look at this outside line. It is staying formed up throughout this first 6 laps. They have not dropped to the inside line. It looks like we're actually going to have a pretty racy battle here tonight as these guys are going to be able to make that outside line work. It's been fun so far.
Yeah, it absolutely has. We'll have to see in about another 5, 6, 7 laps or so. That's about the time we saw when we saw our first driver have a self-spin, have an issue in that B main. So we'll see if these guys learn something or if the same thing will hold true for this race as well. We'll keep an eye on that for the time being. But right now, that top side has been keeping the momentum, has been keeping up with the bottom lane. And it's been Seth the Merchant on the top side for the most part of the beginning part of the race until he jumped down to the bottom. Now it's been Mark Jorgensen Jr. up on the high side trying to get it done, and he's falling back now, back to battle for that 3rd, 4th spot now with the 3 car, Brandon Chiburko.
Yeah, he's starting to lose a little bit of momentum. As soon as I said that about the outside line, it started to lose formation. A few guys dropped to the inside line. There's only 4 up there in the main group. There is a couple of stragglers that are trying to suck up to the back of the number 48 of Josh Ball, but for the time being, there's only a handful of drivers up there. Most of them did choose to drop to the bottom of the racetrack, and that did affect the momentum that the outside line had, but if they can get a few more cars lined back up out there, it's going to help. Now Brandon Chaburko is trying to pull the outside line around. He's got Mark Jorgensen on his back bumper trying, and then we have a little bit of a moment off turn 2. It looks like Tom Moustakas on the bottom got a little loose, or maybe that wasn't Tom. I'll have to look and catch the number. It looks like it was the 87 of Ray Rittenauer. Got a little loose coming off turn 2, almost caused a big moment, but was able to hang on to it. He actually was also able to stay in the main pack, and Tom Moustakas actually just took the race lead. He's clear of Seth the Merchant, and he is your race leader as they work off turn 4.
Yeah, he was second in line right there and was able to jump out in front of Brandon Chaburko, take advantage of that run, that topside ad, gave him the race lead. Now you see that 3-car battling side by side for that race lead. He's got the help from that 88 machine now, and they're going to be side by side for that race lead. A little bit of shuffling going on through them out the top 10 right there. Josh Ball, who was up around the top 5, 7th place there, and he's now falling back outside of the top 10 right now, currently shown in that 14th spot, trying to make up some more positions. More guys still moving around all over the place, going up, going down. Can't really deciding which line actually has the advantage here at the beginning part of this race. You can see the 8 move up to the top side, and just as he did that, the 12 of Corey Henry drops down to the bottom, so only 4 cars on that top side trying to get it done. I mean, and it's probably enough cars to get it done, but they just got to time it right off the corners. They got to be right up on the back bumper of each other if they're going to want to give that push up for the race lead. Brandon Chaburko in that 3-car, though, is one of the probably the best I've seen as far as the side draft goes. He knows how to get it done, and I've seen time and time again him be the only car in that outside lane and able to hang inside the top 5, so he knows how to definitely use that side draft to his advantage. You can see right there pinching that 7 all the way down to the yellow line before they even enter turn number 3, so he's trying to get everything he possibly can right now. I think he's got to be careful, though, with this build about too much side draft, because we saw how loose those cars were getting on the entry of the corners and in that first B main, so I think maybe a little bit careful is what he's got to be early on in this one. Is you can see these guys going through the trial. We're actually seeing the sparks come off these race cars. They're actually bottoming out just a bit there. There's a lip there actually with that bottom lane in that tri-oval. It almost becomes almost flat right there at that part of the track.
Yeah, when you go through the tri-oval, especially if you're on the inside line, there is a little bit of a bump that you go across, which really can upset the handling of the car. And with a car that's already as loose as what we have seen these guys dealing with, the last thing you want is a car like Brandon Chaburko on your outside pinching you down and not giving you any room to hang on when you do get a little sideways. And that's something I want to talk about for a second. I've seen a lot of these cars get sideways going through the corners, going into the corners, all the way through the field. I was just kind of scrolling back and checking out some of the guys at the back of the pack, and this is a handling thing that everybody is dealing with. So it's not just something that 1 or 2 guys are having to go through. This is the entire field, and I'm very interested to see as the tires wear out, as the run gets longer, does it tighten up like we're used to seeing with the iRacing fixed setup that iRacing provides for us, or is this setup that starts off loose going to get looser? It's going to be very interesting. This is the longest run we've seen with this setup, and so far it looks like it's maintaining that loose mentality, which is certainly going to keep the racing exciting throughout the whole race. You see Brandon Chaburko and Mark Jorgensen right now on the outside line. They have kind of lost their help. They've got a couple of cars straggling back there behind them. The 51 of Jason Altman, he's about 5 car lengths behind. He's going to need a little bit of help to get up there to push those guys. And with this having happened, you're seeing Brandon Chaburko and Mark Jorgensen, they're losing the momentum on the outside line. They're not being able to suck up and challenge for the race lead. They're going to either need some guys in front of them to pull up and help them get that line going, or they're going to have to get some guys behind them to jump in and really start pushing. Otherwise, they may fall back outside of the top 10. They're really going to need some help here if they're going to keep up this outside line.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to, and this is actually the point where you might see as they get a run that you might see some of these guys on the bottom jump up, maybe guys like the 87 or Ray Rittenauer, or maybe even the 7 of Rodney Wofford, if they can time it just right, maybe off of the exit of turn number 4, as you can see that top side start to move back up towards the front. They're side by side. Now, in trouble for Matt Quick in the 89, and he's down to the apron now. Contact between the 71 and the 14. That's Christian Peterson and Paul Servant involved in that one right there, and that's going to save that 57 from going down a lap, I believe, right now. Yeah, trouble right there in the middle of this front pack, and we got our first caution of the night, and it comes out on lap number 13.
Yeah, that collected a lot of drivers. As that wreck began, there was a host of drivers that came in that had nowhere to go. Chris Passini was the first one to the scene of the accident. He just got caught up wrong place at the wrong time. As they started wrecking, they came back across the track right up in front of them, and it took out at least 10 cars, maybe 11 or 12. I'm going to try to get a car count here right quick and see, but a big chunk of the front group of cars has just been taken out, and that was a situation of this setup being so loose that when they tried to turn the car through the corner, it just upset it, and that's exactly what we saw going off into the corner. He just got a little sideways as he was trying to turn in, and by that point it was just too late, and then it was just a chain reaction. Everybody else just kind of getting caught up.
Chain reaction is definitely what we see when we come to Talladega or Daytona, to be a matter of fact. So this time, off of turn number 4, pit road will be open for our race leaders. They do have to make at least one pit stop during this race, so why not make it now under caution and get it out of the way, and don't have to do it under green flag conditions. So we should see all of our leaders head down pit road at this time, and it looks like we do, as Tom Moustakis in that 210 machine will lead the way down pit road. 4 tires and fuel should be the call here since it's under caution. We'll have to see if anyone tries a 2-tire gamble here. It's a 3-car, the first one to head to his pit stall. The rest of them now coming in for service.
Yeah, I have a feeling the call is going to be 4 fresh tires and fuel. You don't want to go out there with 2 tires or no tires, considering how much or how loose this car has been. We have a few 2-tire calls, actually a bunch of 2-tire calls at the front here. It does look like Josh Ball rolled through his pit stall. He chose not to stop that time by. Tom Moustakis was the first out on 2 tires. Seth DeMerchant, Mark Jorgensen, Corey Henry also all took 2 tires that we know for sure. The rest of the field took 4, and I did get a car count on that accident. 11 cars were involved in that accident, so about a third of the field was just taken out right there. A very unfortunate wreck. But that's what happens at Daytona and Talladega. When one car goes around, the chances of many being involved is always a lot higher here than at most other tracks, and that's what we saw right there. Once one car got sideways, everybody else piled right on in. So I'm really interested with this 2-tire call, though, to see what these guys up front can do. Is it really going to affect the handling, Andy, or do you think that they're going to be all right? Because I have a feeling it's going to affect the handling pretty bad, and those guys with 4 tires are going to have the advantage.
That definitely could affect it. I would think it would affect it more if they end up running on the outside lane, possibly. Typically, 2 tires will make the car looser than what it already is. So if it's already that loose, it will probably make it a little bit more hairier for these guys to drive, especially on that outside line. But we'll have to see. Obviously, I think with this new build that iRacing came out with, the tire wear, they definitely talked about it not being as bad on the restrictor plates as it had been. So we'll see if that holds true here with them guys just taking right side tires. Josh Ball pulled through the pits to lead a lap. He's going to now come down pit road. He'll have to restart from the back of the field on this next restart. The lights on the pace car hopefully will go out this time. Don't think we need to run another lap under caution, and looks like we are going to double up, and the lights are off on the pace car. So we'll get back to racing here, working lap number 16 of 47, and when we go back green flag racing, we'll have 31 to go here at Talladega. Well, top 5 as they sit right now. Tom Moustakis got the pole, led a bunch of laps, lost the lead, got the lead back. Currently sitting in that top spot. Seth DeMerchant started second. He's sitting second currently. Mark Jorgensen Jr. up 1 spot to third. Fourth running right now is Corey Henry, all the way from the 8th spot. And rounding out the top 5, that's Shane McKeechin, who started this race in 13th. Well, we've seen some good racing. That was a real long green flag run here. Longest one we've seen from the B main to the A main here so far. And I think it had the potential to go green even longer. So I think maybe these guys learned a little something there in that B main, or at least watching it if they weren't in the race.
Yeah, one thing I think you might see some of these guys do, especially now that they've gotten one pit stop under their belts, if they put fuel in the car right there, they should not have to put fuel in the car the rest of the race. And what they can do here is just no longer put fuel in the car. If they get another caution and they come down and get tires, don't put fuel in the car. That'll take a little bit of weight out of the rear of the car, and it actually might make the cars handle a little bit better, considering we've seen how loose they are. If you can take some weight out of the rear and make it a little bit tighter, that's probably going to be an advantage. So I expect to see some of these guys try that for the remainder of the race.
Good call for them. Pace car going to look to the safety of pit road. We'll get our first restart here in the A main here tonight, and Tom Moustakis, like he did from the start of the race, will lead the field to the green flag. Green flag is back in the air, and we're going to race it off into turn number 1 as they climb through the gears. Top side, a small advantage for that 32 machine on the top side. Even it out, he won't be able to clear Tom Moustakis into turn number 1. So far, everybody's straight, everybody's going 1 speed. Trying to get up to speed too as they go through the gears. It takes about a lap to get up to full speed right here. But typically we see these guys normally up over 200 miles an hour in these cars at these plate tracks. But tonight, the max speed's been about 194 on these cars in the draft. So the setup that they brought definitely has slowed them down. You can't tell by just watching them because they're all going the same speed and they're still going awfully fast. But when you talk about 10 miles an hour, you can definitely notice that in the car, and that could also have something to do with why they're having problems into the corner getting loose.
Yeah, that could have a little bit to do with it, and it certainly is going to affect the way these guys race too. You're used to doing 205 to 210 around here, and now you're only running 190 to 195 at best, and that certainly changes the way these cars react to the draft. It's going to change the amount of momentum that you can get when you make a move to the outside. That 10 miles an hour can make a big difference in so many different ways, and I think we're seeing that tonight with this different setup that they've brought. It's made the racing a little bit better than what we've seen in recent weeks with the iRacing fixed setup, but it hasn't fixed all the issues because the outside line is still not going as fast as they would like for it to, and right now it's completely non-existent. Seth Demershant started on the front row 2 laps ago, and right now he's working on being outside of the top 10 because he has no help at all. The 8 of Dana Osborne is the only one up there with him, and now Seth Demershant's going to drop in line, and he's going to have fallen all the way back to the 8th position right now. So the outside line is just not working at this point of the race, mainly I think because there's no commitment, but also because they're afraid of what this car is going to do when it's side by side. We saw how loose these guys are getting. I have a feeling these drivers are just not wanting to take that chance right now.
Yeah, and especially seeing a majority of them took only 2 tires on that stop right there, so maybe just trying to feel it out, see what the 2 tires actually feels like. You see Brandon Jabergo now back there in that 11th spot, jump to the outside all by himself. We'll see if he can use that side draft to get himself up there, if he's just going to be a sitting duck on that top side, already loose in 1 spot right now to Casey Malone, as Casey Malone edges him out, and he will take over that 11th spot now as they cross the start-finish line. Single file pretty much through the field. Right now, a couple cars on the outside, but they're outside the top 10. Brandon Jaberko with a little bit of help from the 8 of Dana Osborne. Osborne actually going to look to the bottom now, and so does the 3 cars. They exit turn number 2. Now the 3 jumps back to the outside. Brandon Jaberko, never one to cease to amaze in the way he races. He wants to race every single lap like it's the last lap, and why not? It's gotten him victories time and time again in the iSuper Speedway Series, and now he's trying to make that outside line work. He's got a couple cars helping. He drops down to the inside now. And it's back and forth. You can't even tell with it what he's going to do.
Well, I know what he's doing because I've done it myself in this position. You're just trying to make small moves at a time. As now the 51 of Jason Altman's going to jump up there with Casey Malone. Now you're starting to see a few guys jump out. It looked like Rodney Walford in the 7 was going to, but he thought better of it. But you're starting to see these guys get a little bit more racy. But back to what Jaberko was doing, when you're back here like this in a single file situation, you're just trying to pick them off one at a time to try to put yourself in a position perhaps to get to somebody that you know you can work with that will go up there and make those moves with you. Where he was at, there was really nobody willing to commit to jumping up to the outside line with him, so he was probably just trying to find somebody that would, and in the process he's hopping past a couple of cars and making up some positions in the time being. And it worked for him because now there's a few cars jumping up there that if he decides he wants to go with, I think can make that outside line work. As right now we see the number 94 of Frank Busilia trying to lead the way on the outside line. He's starting to get a little bit of steam. He's up to the outside of the 5th place car, and he's got a little bit of help up there. They might actually be able to make something happen with Jason Altman and Casey Malone. Now Brandon Chaburko is jumping back up there on the outside line. These guys are starting to make it work. They're getting closer and closer to the front. It's only going to be a matter of time before they're challenging for the lead.
And you can see that 24 jump into the mix on the top side as well. That's Ryan Keese in that 24 machine. And a little trouble right there, right before the entrance to turn number 3. It looks like the 12 bobbled just a bit. That's Corey Henry right there. That's going to check up that bottom side, give the top side a little bit of an advantage with the momentum off of turn number 4. And you can see them slowly creeping their way up and help out Frank Busilia. Started in the 18th spot. In that first run, he dropped out of the picture. He was in the second group, some 5-6 seconds back off the lead group. Now look at him now as that one car jumps out to 88 of Mark Jorgensen Jr., jumps to the high side and gets a huge push from Frank Busilia. He's going to drop down to the bottom now, take over the race lead as Frank Busilia now wants a piece of that lead as he gets a little bit of help from Jason Altman. He's going to run side by side now with those top 2 guys on the bottom. He's going to try something here off of turn number 4, possibly get the run, possibly get himself a lap led. One car, the 8, Dana Osborne, down on the apron. Looks like he maybe had clipped the apron with the left side tires. Gets a little loose, able to keep it straight, but he's going to lose the draft and lose a ton of time and spots. Back up front, though, 88, Mark Jorgensen Jr. gets the lap led. Frank Busilia still trying something. Side by side now for that second spot. Tom Moustakis still has the 51 of Jason Altman's right behind him. A little bit of separation, though. That's going to cause that top side to lose its momentum off the corner number 2. Bottom side still with the advantage here down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that was a power move by Mark Jorgensen about a lap and a half ago to jump up in front of Frank Busilia and take that momentum that he had and use it to his advantage to take the race lead. And then he jumped right back down to the inside line in front of Tom Moustakis to make sure that he was able to hold on to the lead. I think he knew that at the time there was a little bit of momentum on the outside line, but he knew it wasn't going to last, so he decided to take advantage of it and then get out of the way and get back to the bottom before it stalled out. And it worked out for him. He's leading right now. Frank Busilia has managed to hang on to the outside of the second place car right now, but he has not been able to get any closer. That's about as far as we've seen him get since he's jumped up here. He's probably going to need a little bit more help. There's 4 cars behind him right now, but I think he's going to need a little bit more if he's going to be able to get up there and challenge for the race lead. It looks like Jason Altman's in that 51 is trying to push him as hard as he can, but as we've already said a couple of times, they can't push through the corner, so when they get to the corners, when they get to turn 3, he has to back off, and then he has to try to time that push when he gets off turn 4 to be back on the bumper of Frank when they get off the corner, and he's not been able to do that as well as I think he would like to. He's just not been able to get close enough to him when they get off the corner to make the momentum down the straightaways, and it's really affected them. As now we see we've got a mover up to the top. It's the number 28 machine of Shane McKeechin. He's going to jump up there. That forces Frank out of line, and now they're 3 wide as they go down into turn 1.
3 wide action going on at the front of the pack. Frank Busilia is going to get stuck on the outside with no help at all. Shane McKeechin now leads that top line. He's got the help from Jason Altman. Frank Busilia able to get in line right in front of Brandon Chaburko. A little bit of separation of 51 and 28. So Jason Altman jumps down to the bottom side. We'll dump right behind that 7 of Rodney Wofford. We've crossed the halfway point, though, of this A main. So it's time for an iRacing midway race break, brought to you by iRacing.com, the leader in motorsports simulation and the official sim racing partner of NASCAR. At the line this time, it's going to be the 88, Mark Jorgensen Jr. He will be your leader. Tom Moustakis sits second. Third goes to Corey Henry. Rodney Wofford sits fourth. Fifth goes to Jason Altman. Sixth is Shane McKeechin. Ray Rittenauer is seventh. Eighth to Casey Malone. Beth the Merchant runs ninth. And 10th is Frank Busilia.
Sitting in the 11th position right now, Brandon Chaburko. Andrew Berger is in the 12th position. Greg Hooks, he started all the way back in the 33rd position. He's moved up to 13th right now. He's by far our biggest mover of the race up to this point. Ryan Key sits in the 14th position. Rod Flagg is 15th. Dwayne Cooper is running 16th. Josh Ball hanging back around the 17th position right now. Chad Keene is in the 18th position. Jared Haggerty is 19th, and rounding out the top 20, Paul Servant. He was caught up in that earlier wreck. He's just trying to hang on right now.
Sitting in the 21st spot, that's the Larry Camp machine. Dana Osborne, after getting the apron a few laps ago, sits 22nd. 23rd is Brandon Monsavice. Luis Calderon is 24th. 25th is Daniel Ferguson. 8 laps down is Kit Connolly in that 26th position. 27th is Donnie Giratano. Jeff Figlin runs 28th. 29th is Mark Emery. 30th is Matt Quick. And caution on the speedway for the second time here in the A-Main, just as we got through our iRacing midway race break. And for more information on the wide variety of racing possibilities on the web, visit iRacing.com and sign up today.
Yeah, and just looking at that caution, that was a very weird accident. They were going straight down the back straightaway, and then it looked like Josh Ball was pushing the 31, and then all of a sudden the 31 just hooked hard right. I almost want to believe there was a little bit of a netcode or a lag issue there, because they were perfectly fine just pushing down the straightaway, and then all of a sudden you just see the 31 of Dwayne Cooper turn hard right into the outside wall. A very weird wreck. One of the strangest that I've ever seen on this service, so very interesting. And then you see a couple of guys come in late and make some heavy contact with him. Jared Haggerty was one of those drivers, just a very hard hit. He lost the front end of that car. The 14 of Paul Servant, he was caught up in the first wreck. He was also caught up in this one, some very heavy front end damage as well. So a very unfortunate wreck for several of these drivers, and that was a very just strange wreck. I don't know, that was weird.
Yeah, it almost looked like the 48 machine actually was inside the bumper of that machine, so maybe a little bit of net code on that one, but we'll chalk that up as just a racing deal right there as we work lap number 29, and the field comes down pit road once again. And I don't know, do we see 2 tires again for most of these guys that already took 2 tires, or do we see them take the 4 tires for the sprint to the finish?
Yeah, 4 tires or 2 tires. It's going to be interesting to see. We saw a couple of these guys take 2 earlier. Mark Jorgensen slid through his pit box. He is going to have to back up. That could affect his call. It looks like we're going to have a couple of no tire stops, just fuel only for Tom Moustakis and Rodney Wolford. The rest of these guys are sitting there at least taking 2 tires. It looks like Seth Demerson's going to be the first car out with 2. And then you have a host of others that took 2 as well. I don't see very many 4 tire stops out of these race leaders.
So definitely the new build and the tire wear model this time around has definitely changed pit stops, because just a couple weeks ago we would have seen everybody taking 4 tires every single time down pit road, and this time we're going to see guys take just 2 tires, and we saw a bunch take no tires, just fuel only. Obviously can make it to the end here. 18 laps left to go when they come around. This time 17 to go left in this A-Main feature here tonight on Friday night. We're going to take a moment as they're under caution, and we'll take a break of our own. You're watching the Super Speedway series right here on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Welcome back to Talladega Motor Speedway here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. It's the iSuper Speedway Series. Your event, the A-Main here tonight, part of the LSRTV Friday night doubleheader that had the Rod Car Truck Tour. That was on at 8 p.m. and Casey Malone picked up his second win in a row, his third win on the season. Of course, that race was at Dover International Speedway, and next week, next Friday night, right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live, you'll see the IROC Series take on race number 2 of 4 in their season, and you'll see those cars in the circa 07 Daytona track next week, and part of a throwback weekend, and you'll see these very own Gen 6 Cup cars with some interesting WWE paints, part of their throwback Friday night, next Friday night right here on LSRTV, all starting off at 8 p.m. Eastern. Pace car, we're going to go down pit road as everybody exits turn number 4 at this time at pace speed. Will look like we will get set to get back to racing here. We're working lap 32. We will complete that at the drop of the green flag, and we will have just 16 laps left to get it done here, or make it 14 laps. I don't know what I'm doing here tonight on laps, but anyway, green flag will be back in the air, and Shane McKeechan on the bottom side will not have the advantage as they come to the start-finish line. Ryan Keese on the outside with a small advantage. He's got Rodney Wofford giving him the push.
Yeah, Rodney Wofford's going to try to get him pushed clear to the inside as they work through turns 1 and 2. Not going to have the momentum to do it yet. We see this every time on the restarts. You got to wait for the cars to get wound up. It takes about a full lap for these guys to get to full song. And at this point of the race, the number 28 of Shane McKeechan's got the advantage down the back straightaway. On the inside line, there's just not a lot of help on the outside. As right now, it looks like the number 24, Ryan Keese, is having a little bit of a connection issue. He's warping just a little bit in that lead group. That's going to make it very hard for the guys behind him to push, which could affect just how much momentum this outside line has. As you see right now, Rodney Wofford is not really trying to push him. He's kind of staying about a half a car length off of him, not really trying to push him, and now it looks like the 24 is going to pull out of line. I think the drivers communicated to him that he was having a connection issue. Oh, we have a wreck! Tom Moustakis is around hard into turn 1. Another caution. Not sure what happened there, but heavy contact. It looked like it had something to do with the number 24, Ryan Keese.
It might have been, but it also might have been, no, it wasn't. It was actually just a problem with the 210 and the 28 making some contact right there in the front straightaway. It looked like Shane McKeechan was actually up a little bit, and it looked like the Tom Moustakis went to the inside like he was leaving the inside lane open. We'll take a look at the replay right now on your screen, and it looks like just ran out of room. They made some contact. The 210 went back up the racetrack, and again, another 10 or so cars involved in that one. Some hard licks for a couple of those drivers, and that was right at the point when that 24 machine was going to the high side to get out of the way. But a bunch of the guys there having some issues here early on. Looks like Rodney Wofford able to squeeze on through that, along with a couple others. We'll take a ride on with the 8, though, through what he saw over during this wreck, and a pretty interesting ride right there.
Yeah, that was a very strange wreck again. It just looked like the Tom Moustakis machine thought he had a line at the inside. It wasn't there, and they made contact, and then it just sent him around. Just a very big wreck yet again here. Started at the front, and when a wreck happens at the front here at Daytona or Talladega, it is almost impossible to get through. So for any of these drivers that made it through cleanly, that's a job well done, because that's a very hard thing to accomplish. These wrecks are starting to wind down how many cars we have. We might not have more than about 10 cars left to race for the win here once we go back green. I'm going to have to try to figure out just how many are still clean, but between the 2 wrecks that we've had that have took out as many drivers as it has, there can't be very many cars left without damage out there.
Yeah, we've had 34 cars start tonight's race, and since then we've have only 22 left on the lead lap. I'm sure that'll change with this caution here. There's a few drivers will have to go down pit road and get themselves some repair, and quite possibly make their way back onto the racetrack, but make it a couple laps down. Just as I said that, about 4 or 5 cars right there dropped off the lead lap, so we only have 17 now currently on the lead lap. As we wind down these laps here, we got 12 laps left to go in this one, so it looks like we got one smoking there on the apron there. The 9 of Chad Keene is smoking there on the on the apron there. He's killing mosquitoes, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm sure they could have used him out in Auto Club today for the Sprint Cup Series qualifying, because they had a bee problem there, and I'm sure the smoke would have certainly helped to solve that. But he's not out in Auto Club. He's here in Alabama, in Talladega with us. So he's not able to do that for us here. He's probably just trying to ride around and get as many laps as he can before the motor expires. That way he can try to get as good a finish as possible. I'm sure you'll see him come to pit road before they go back green. Of course, he probably has what we all know as the meatball flag, where he's going to have to come to pit road and get that damage serviced. And Andy, I believe you have caught up with one of our fellow commentators. He's out on the track right now. I believe you've caught up with Josh Ball out there.
Yeah, this is Josh Ball. This is Andy up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Andy. How's it going?
Well, we had you up in the booth for most of the night. Now you're down in the car. How's that setup going? You were kind of leery on maybe how it was going to work for you, but how's it feeling out there so far?
So far, it's not too bad. It definitely can get loose on you, though. I definitely experienced that for myself there in practice. I was in the middle, and I didn't feel like it got loose at all, and then all of a sudden I was in a big, huge wreck. So, it definitely can get loose. I think having some fresh tires is probably going to help that here. We got about 9 laps to go, and we didn't really have too many green flag laps on those tires. So, I don't know. It's interesting out here, for sure.
Well, we've seen everybody take 2 tires pretty much was the call, has been all night long. We know on the last build that wasn't really per se a thing you would see out there too often, but it seems like the tire wear is definitely different on this build. What have you noticed?
Yeah, we definitely the same thing. Tires are not as bad. We're getting some reports of 98, 97 wear off of that 15 or 16 lap run. So, we all decided just to take 2 tires pretty much. I unfortunately couldn't see my pit stall. Somebody in front of me was just riding too low and I couldn't see it. So I unfortunately missed the first pit, so I dropped to the back. So it's been a challenge to get back up here, but the suck up, I tell you, the one biggest thing I'm noticing, the suck up isn't really there. We had that second pack, and even though we could not get any suck off that front pack, so it was just not so good.
Well, that hasn't changed, but what has changed is the fact that you're inside the top 10 here late in the going, and we get back green flag racing. We'll probably have about 9 or so laps to go. So what's it going to take to get that 48 up top side and give yourself a chance to win?
Well, right now we'll try to get up there as best we can. If we're in position, we'll definitely take the win. We're definitely trying to get the 42 in victory lane as well, and the 88, 94, 51. So, we're team 8 racing right now. We're already in the chase. So, if it comes down to me being in the spot to win, I'll definitely take it. But helping out others as well. So.
That's a team player right there, Josh Ball. We'll let you get back to work as you guys get ready to double up here.
Thanks, guys.
So with that said, he talked about it here with this race. It's going to be a fight to the end here as the laps start to tick down, and we cross the line right there, 10 to go, and they'll get 9 to go when they get the green flag. He's on the outside. The outside, though, we've seen it restart after restart here tonight, Brian, that it just doesn't get going right off the bat. And I don't know if it's just because it's the long way around on the top side and it takes a little bit longer for those cars to get wound up as it does the bottom side, or if it's just these guys just can't get grouped together quick enough to get the draft to work.
Yeah, I really think it's a combination of all of those things. I think it's got a lot to do with who's up there, who's the pushing car versus who's the lead car. Being the lead car, you can do a lot of things wrong and a lot of things right. If you're not holding the line perfectly, if you're not pinching down that inside line, there's a lot of things that you can do to affect that. And then as the pushing car, you've got to make sure you stay glued to that guy's bumper for as long as you can. Of course, you do have to get off when you get to the corners, but you have to be able to push as hard as you you can down the straightaways and then get off of him, but don't give yourself too much of a gap, because if you leave yourself too much of a gap, you're killing the momentum of the outside line, and it hurts the exit because you're not going to be able to get closed back up to give that push when you get back to the straightaways. So there's a lot that goes on in the car, being on the outside line as both the leader and the pusher, and it affects it all. And right now, I think if we're going to see the outside line work, it's probably going to have its best opportunity here with Mark Jorgensen going to be the pushing car on the outside line. He's going to have to really work hard, and he's going to have Andrew Berger leading him around. So this is going to be very exciting. I think you might actually see the outside line work.
Yeah, and you mentioned those guys. Josh did as well, the 42, the 88 teammates. 48, so that doesn't hurt at all. 3 teammates up on that top side. A couple more on the bottom lane with the 94 and the 51 of Jason Altman's there as well, all inside the top 10. Pace car's gone. We're looking to get set. What could possibly be the final restart of the night. 9 laps to go, and it's all out from here. There's no lifting now at this point. Going for that win, you're going for the trophy, and we'll see who's going to get that here in the closing laps, side by side for the race lead as they power their way through turns 1 and 2, and so far so good for the top side. A little bit of separation between the 88 and 48. Those front two, at least they're somewhat close together. They'll be able to maintain at least that second spot right now as they race side by side with Rodney Wofford.
Yeah, Mark Jorgensen and Andrew Berger staying almost completely attached all the way through turns 1 and 2, and then they broke apart going down the straightaway. That hurt their momentum for the time being on the outside line, and now they're the only 2 up there. Josh Ball fell back and is right now for the time being. Now he jumps back up to the outside line, so the 3 team cars back out there on the outside line. We have Rodney Wolford in the 7 trying to jump up in front of them to make something happen. He's going to make a challenge for the race lead now. Shane McKeechin is on the bottom. Rodney Wolford's on the outside. You've got Andrew Berger trying to push Shane McKeechin to the race lead, and now you've got a 2 by 2 at the front. These front 6 cars running side by side, and now the side drafting is getting really intense. You see these guys almost beating doors as they go down the straightaways here. They're trying to use that side draft as much as possible, and Rodney Wolford, we talked about him earlier, he's the winningest driver in the iSuperspeedway Series. He's showing us why right now. He's in a position to win this race when it counts.
By far the most winningest driver, but most of those wins coming at Daytona, but he's got a few at Talladega to boot as he tries to get that race lead now as he comes to the stripe this time by. We'll have 8 laps to go on the board. Josh Ball kind of sitting in no man's land at this point here, trying to figure out which lane to go in, which lane is going to work. But he's got 4 teammates up there in the top 6 that he has an opportunity to help get into the chase now as the top 7 have separated themselves from 8th place. That's Rod Flagg that keeps falling back there in the back of the picture. So it's up to 7 cars now as they race down the back straightaway and into turn number 3 and 4. And this time by, we'll get 6 to go here tonight in the A-Main.
6 to go when they get to the line. It's about to really start picking up. You're going to see the business really start picking up. That's what I was trying to say. These guys are trying to make the outside line work, but you're seeing it starting to fade away. Rodney Wolford is the only car out there. I think you're seeing a little bit of teammates working together here, as it looks like Andrew Berger and Mark Jorgensen and Josh Ball decided to drop to the inside line. I think they're going to try to shuffle him out, and Jason Altman's is also with them, so you have 4 teammates working together. All these guys are trying to make something happen. It looks like this could come down to who's got the teammates at the front here as far as what's going to happen. It's going to be very exciting.
And you can see,
Josh
whoa,
Ball
you got
is
trouble for the
sideways
48.
pass.
Oh, that's a hard hit into the wall right there, and I think that should maybe bring out the caution. It does bring out the caution, so one of those guys, and it looks like it's probably going to end this race. And you talk about 5 teammates in the top 7 right there, and not one of them is going to get the win here tonight.
hard contact for Josh Ball. He spun. It was very similar to the wreck we saw coming to the checkered flag in the B main race. He got turned down through the infield, and he spins down onto pit road and makes contact with the inside wall. Except he's actually going to have a lot of damage compared to the guy we saw do that in the B main race, and I do believe that's the end of the race. Dana Osborne was the driver that had that happen in the B main race. It looks like this race is over, which means Shane McEachin is going to be the guy that's going to come home with the victory. He was one of those two drivers that chose to stay out when everybody else came to pit road about 15 laps ago, so a very good call for him. It's very interesting to see that it worked out. I think we were all expecting those guys on tires to be able to make it happen, but with the series of cautions that we saw at the end of this race, he was able to stay up front, and he put himself in position to win, and he got the job done. A very good call for him and his team to get the victory here tonight.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It paid off here tonight, and he was looking out that rearview mirror quite a bit there the last few laps that we were under the green flag, because he was gonna get ganged up on, I think, by a lot of teammates right there. And it's fortunate for him the caution came out when it did, because I have a feeling that it wouldn't have looked pretty for that 28 machine. But Shane McEachin can now say that he is officially locked into the chase. So a good job by him to be up front when it matters the most. And he will get the race win here tonight, as long as he can get that thing back around, but I don't think he'll have any problems as far as running out of fuel. The field catches the pace car and go through the tribal here and cross the start-finish line, and they'll get the 3-lap to go mark here at Talladega. The A-Main here tonight for the iSuper Speedway Series, and of course, like we talked about a few times, I hope you all tune in next weekend, because it'll be kind of a throwback weekend, as these guys will run the IROC Series instead of the trucks. The Truck Series, the Rod Car Truck Tour, will have the week off next week. The IROC Series will get its second of 4 races underway. I'll start at 8 p.m. Eastern next Friday night right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. And then, of course, right after that at 10 p.m. next Friday night, we'll have the Circa 07 Daytona track, of course, all next Friday night. But you'll see these very same Gen 6 Cup cars out there with some special WWE throwback paint schemes. So that should be a lot of fun as well. And don't forget, if you like racing and you like watching it right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live, make sure you tune in tomorrow night for the USR Truck Series and their chase for the 2016 championship. And they will be at Phoenix International Raceway for 156 laps at that great 1-mile little short track out in the desert. And that's always a fun racetrack to see a race at, especially the trucks. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of slipping and sliding if it's anything like we saw this past Sunday night with the Ascors League running there as well. So a lot of fun coming up, of course, as always, right here on LSR-TV. And Sunday, you can tune in again for some more Ascors racing as they tackle Fontana and the Auto Club Speedway. Of course, Monday night, RSR is back in it again after a week off, and those guys will as well go to Fontana, and that should be a fun race as well. And we can see, or hear, not see, we could hear Brian Macklin on that broadcast as well. But they come to the line this time. We're going to get 2 to go. We'll see if
we're about to find out if this thing is going to go back green. It looks like if they cross the line and the lights go off on the pace car, we'll have a 1-lap shootout. However, the lights stay on, so this thing is over. They will not go back green. I think that is due in part to the fact that there is one car a lap down that is still out on the track. That's number 57 of Luis Calderon. He's out on the track and 1 lap down. I believe if he was off the track, we might have had a 1-lap shootout here, but unfortunately, these guys are going to end under caution. We need to rally to iRacing and tell them we need green-white checkers or we need an overtime rule or something, because I hate seeing these races end under caution like this. We definitely need some type of a format that allows us to have at least one opportunity to go back green when the race has a caution towards the end. Hopefully at some point in the future we will see that. I think many of us can agree on that situation, Andy.
Yes. We could agree on that. I'm not going to get into that rant. I learned my lesson. Got slapped a couple times, but no. No, it'd definitely be so. You know what? Listen, I can understand why it wouldn't be in the official series because that could just make that a little more not interesting, I guess, in the official side. But it'd be neat to have it as an option, at least for some of these leagues for league racing, because you know it would be utilized just about every single race. So that's pretty cool, and hopefully someday it'll happen. We got fireworks now, so we're working towards the. Yeah. Well, we don't have to get into everything like cone physics and all that other stuff, and the really cool pit guy now that we have that has a cool little stance. So we're getting to that point. Eventually, we'll have the green white checkers, but until then, this is what we get, and the white flag will be displayed now for Shane McEachin. 2.66 miles at a crawling 80 miles an hour is what he'll have to do to get the victory here tonight. Frank Busilia, he'll end up coming home in that second spot. Jason Altmans will finish third tonight, and pretty good to see a couple of those guys up there in the top three on a podium finish here tonight, especially Jason Altmans. He's had a rough go around here at the beginning of the season, having trouble finishing races, getting caught up in other people's wrecks, and just hasn't been so far the season he wanted, but at least tonight he's put himself at the point when it's needed there at the end of the race. He's up at the front, but unfortunately he won't get the opportunity to try to get the win.
Yeah, and I just want to say I think this new setup was a half success and a half failure. I think that it provided for the type of racing that these drivers wanted to see in the sense that the outside line worked, but I almost think it was a little too loose. It caused some wrecks that I don't necessarily think needed to happen, and I hope that they can try to work on that a little bit. There was also very little suck up on the outside line. It just made it very hard for some guys that were at the back to make the moves they needed to make. But it provided some side-by-side racing at the front. It allowed for guys to make moves for the lead. So versus what we had a couple of weeks ago, I'd say that's certainly going in the right direction. I hope that they can continue going in that direction. Of course, next week, you talked about it, the IROC Series is going to be running the old Gen 5 car with no restrictor plates around the old Daytona from 2007. That's sure to be a very exciting race. Probably going to have a lot of fireworks flying in that race. As our producer up in the booth just said, it's going to be a barn burner, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it should be pretty interesting to see the speeds that those guys are going to get. And it's only going to be about, I think, around 12 cars or so that'll be in that race. So it may not be as bad as it could be, I guess, but it should be a lot of fun as well for the speed itself. But for Shane McEachin here in this one in the A-Main, he's going to find himself a victor here in the iSuperSpeedway Series. He's going to get himself a nice trophy for the win. He's going to lock himself into the chase for the championship here in a few weeks. Shane McEachin is going to be your winner here at Talladega.
Yeah, big victory for Shane McEachin right there. Frank Busilia comes home second. Jason Altmans is in third. Andrew Berger is fourth. And Mark Jorgensen Jr. rounds out the top five. Very exciting race. I'm very glad I got to be up here in the broadcast booth with you tonight, Andy, and I'm looking forward to doing this again. And this is going to be a very interesting set of interviews. I think these guys are going to have a lot to say about tonight's race, and looking ahead to the future, it's going to be a very fun ordeal here in just a little bit.
Well, it absolutely will be, and we'll talk to our top three finishers in just a moment when we come back. But right now, you've just watched Talladega A-Main right here for the iSuperSpeedway Series on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
The 2016 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series is all about change. New teams, new drivers, new tracks, even a new logo. And oh yeah, there's a brand new car. After 5 years of competition, we say goodbye to the Williams FW31 and we say hello to the McLaren MP430. But this isn't just a brand new car, it's a whole new ballgame. And with it, we bring new excitement, new strategies, new technology. For example, energy recovery and drag reduction systems. There's a new way of thinking about racing, and for all the drivers participating, it's back to the drawing board, wiping the slate clean in the ever-consuming pursuit of perfection. One little slip-up, one wrong move on track, one poor strategy call, and it's over. That's the difference between coming up short and becoming champion and being $10,000 richer to boot. So yeah, change is in the air, but we're going to start getting answers on the 27th of February as the 7th year of iRacing World Championship competition kicks off. And you won't miss a thing, with every single race live on iRacing Live, coverage brought to you by Racebot TV. So join us fortnightly from 1:30 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back to Talladega Motor Speedway. We welcome you all back to the conclusion of the iSuperspeedway Series A main had just finished, and for Shane McEachin picking up the victory. Frank Brasilia finishes second. Jason Altman's is third. Andrew Berger finishes fourth. Mark Jorgensen Jr. finishes in the fifth spot. Of course, the results on your screen are a little bit messed up because we finished under caution. Rodney Wofford finishes sixth. Rod Flagg finishes seventh. Brandon Jamerko comes home in eighth. Ray Rittenauer will finish ninth. Dana Osborne rounds out the top 10.
Finishing in the 11th position is Larry Camp. Corey Henry finishes 12th. Brandon Montsevias is going to finish 13th. Greg Hooks will finish 14th. Daniel Ferguson is in the 15th position. Lewis Calderon will finish 16th. All of these guys from this point on are one lap down due to either being involved in a wreck or just having some issues throughout the evening. In the 16th position is Josh Ball. Paul Servant is 17th. Chad Keene is 18th. Donnie Giratano is 19th. Actually, I got this a little backwards. Donnie Giratano is 20th, rounding out the top 20.
21st goes to Tom Moustakis, who started on the pole. Seth DeMerchant, who started outside pole, finishes 22nd. 23rd was Ryan Keys. Casey Malone will finish 24th. 25th goes to Dwayne Cooper. Jared Haggerty will finish 26th. 27th goes to Jeff Figlin. 28th to Kent Connolly. And Chris Bassini will finish 29th, while Mark Emery finishes 30th.
31st goes to Matt Quick. Christian Pedersen will finish in the 32nd position. Justin Anderson is 33rd. And William Roberts Jr. finishes 34th. All those drivers were out of the race due to the first wreck that we saw at the beginning of the race. Andy, I believe you have caught up with the race winner down in Gatorade Victory Lane. And it's going to be a very interesting and very exciting celebration for Shane McEachin.
Well, most definitely will be. Shane McEachin comes home as the victor here tonight out Talladega in the A-Main, and see if we cannot pull him up here and see if he can get on the microphone. And Shane McEachin getting his first win of the season and locking himself into the chase. Shane will talk us through your race, your strategy there at the end to stay out, and ultimately it was the right call as we finished under caution. You got yourself your first win of the season.
Yeah, I got you guys. Yeah, we felt like the only chance we had there was to stay out, and we were hoping to have enough fuel there at the end, and things worked out. It was definitely a battle having to fight people off there at the end. Big help from Frank and some other folks picking me up. But when it gets that close to the end, you got a target on your back. But right place, right time.
You talk about a target on your back where you're looking inside the top 7 there. You guys kind of broke away from the rest of the field there at the end. And you look at 5 of the 7 were all teammates. And I was like, wow, this might not be good for the 28 as it looked like you were going to get ganged up on there in the last couple of laps. And but fortunate enough for you, caution came out when it did, and you were able to survive and get your first win of the season. You lock yourself into the chase. It's got to be pretty exciting, at least on that part.
Yeah, I think this is number 2 for the season, so we're going to, as of right now, I think we may have a slight point advantage going in. I'm not sure how long it is before the cutoff, but we're looking forward to it.
Well, either way, exciting enough to be able to battle for the championship. We're about the halfway point of the season, so we got a few more weeks before that chase gets to get kicked off. And at this point, you know, obviously being locked in, wins are wins. You want to get the wins. You want to get that trophy week after week. And it's a high priority to do that week in and week out. I mean, we know as a race car driver that is the ultimate goal every time you get out there. At this point, is it try to help out some teammates or friends to try to get them in as well?
Yeah, we definitely, that's our goal. It just worked out where, you know, they had some misfortunes, and you know, at that point it was do what I can do for myself.
Well, that you were able to do. You get yourself the victory here tonight at Talladega, and I know next week everyone's pretty excited about getting to run those special WWE paint schemes, and you got one special or one lined up for yourself here next week as well?
No, we haven't done one yet. Next week would be a challenge. I think last season I got a suspension out of that race from that track's not too friendly for me.
Well, it is kind of bumpy. It's definitely something we're not used to that you guys run pretty much week in and week out. So it definitely makes for some fun racing as well. So we look forward to seeing you next week as well. But first off, sponsors, shout-outs. Who helps you get that machine up here in Victory Lane in that 28?
Yeah, shout out to Six Man. And we hope to have we've got a paint in the works for our sponsor, www.d2e.com. Down there, sports, and once again, thank you guys.
We appreciate it, and congratulations again on the victory here tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
There you have it, our race winner for this evening, and Shane McEachin picking up the big victory. But I'm going to send it now down to Brian Macklin. He's caught up with our second place finisher, Frank Busilia.
Yeah, I have caught up with driver the number 94, second place finisher, Frank Busilia. Frank, very exciting race. You spent most of the race at the front of the field. Take us through those closing laps, trying to put yourself in a position, and the caution unfortunately taking away your chances at going for the victory there in the closing laps.
Yeah, thanks, guys. The race didn't start very well. I think I fell back to 30th, and then through those few pit stops, made my way up. But yeah, coming to the end, I didn't quite have the run on Shane, but, you know, with a potential caution coming out, it was time to make the move in case the race ended. And I just saw a car go inside or through the grass. I guess I was Josh, and I was just hoping the caution wasn't going to come out. I think I was at Shane's door and just wasn't meant to be, but it's not a terrible night. I'll definitely take a P2. Good night in the points, keeping us in the top 10 for the chase.
Yeah, and I was just getting ready to go to you about that. You don't have a win yet, so you're not locked into the chase by a virtue of a victory, but you are second in the points after tonight's race, so you're looking good for your chances at making the chase. How do you feel about that? Are you going to try to go for a win, or are you just going to keep doing what you've been doing and try to get the points to make it in that way?
If I just do what I do every week, and if it ends up in a win, that's a bonus. But, I mean... top 10s until the chase aren't a bad thing. That's what keeps you in the thing. So, not going to race any different. Just going to do what I do every week, and if it ends up in a win, great. I'm going to go for it, just like I tried to tonight. But if it's not in the cards, just salvaging the best finish I can.
And next week is the WWE themed race. Can we expect to see a special paint scheme on your car next week?
Woo! That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, and I think that answers that. We know who's going to be on your car. That's going to be very exciting to see the Nature Boy on your car. That's going to be awesome. Real quick, before we let you go, just want to give you a chance to say thank you to your sponsors and give any shout-outs to friends or family that might be watching. Who makes it happen for you, Frank?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. First off, to allow me to run on Friday nights and play virtual NASCAR, I got to thank my wife, oopsie, and she wants me to throw a shout-out to our new kitty, Layla. So thanks, Katie. Good luck, Charm. But you guys, of course, are broadcasting and putting on the best broadcasts in sim racing. Rod Flag for putting on the league, and guys running up front. Congrats to Shane. Tom was running up there. Burger, Ball, Jay Riot, Chubbs, all those guys. Jorgen. But fun running this league, and we'll try to get him next week.
All right, Frank, thank you. Congratulations on your runner-up finish, and we'll see you next week out there on the track with your Nature Boy paint scheme. That's going to be very exciting. All right, yeah, thank you. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that out there next week. All right, Frank, have a good one. We'll catch up with you next week, hopefully. That was your second-place finisher, Frank Busilla III. And now, Andy, I believe you've caught up with the man known as Jay Riot, Jason Altmans, who finishes third tonight.
Yeah, I am down here on pit road with the 51, driver of the 51, Jason Altmans, and congratulations, podium finish. It's been a while.
Jesus Christ, right? It's getting a little ridiculous out there. I've got some, 5th, 6th, 7th, or whatever, but yeah, I haven't been interviewed for a while, so I'm going to be a little rusty.
That's all right. We got a little bit of time before our producer passes out, but anyway, you had a... you had a good race here tonight, and you're able to all the way from the from ninth, a good starting spot. A good qualifying effort. It's always key to start up front in these races, and you're able to do that, and then you're able to hang out up front. Walk us through those final laps before we got that caution that ended it.
Well, the channel that I was with and the guys that I was working with, we came up with a pretty decent little idea how to get together, and we got that to happen. It would have been a win for Frank or I or probably Mark or Andrew Berger there for a bit. I think we just kind of mistimed our communication and how we did things, and all of a sudden we ended up losing Josh Ball. I hope he's okay. It looked kind of rough, so... okay, yeah, well, I guess I won't say too much about him then. That's not good, so... Yeah, I'm disappointed in the finish, I guess. I was hoping for a little bit higher, maybe even a win. That would have been all right. So, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, it was definitely you guys, we looked at it at the end there. There were 7 cars in a little lead pack. You guys kind of separated yourself from the rest of the field, and 5 of you were all teammates working together, and it looked like that 28 machine was going to be done for the night once you guys started working your way around them. And I think fortunate for him that caution came out when it did. Otherwise, like you said, it would have been one of you guys there getting yourselves locked into the chase.
And it was kind of embarrassing, really. I mean, when you look at it, when you have that many guys working together and all you have to do is go, hey, let's all go to the outside real quick and let's get around this guy, and then just be a free-for-all towards the end there. That's all we need to do, and we just kind of messed it up. So I guess Shane earned it. I can't say that he didn't earn this win. I mean, it was definitely something he had to work for and had to do some sketchy shit. Maybe some stuff that I guess I didn't agree with. I don't think he realized that he doesn't work with us anymore. So I guess next race that happens, I think we'll just have to be a little bit more aggressive or a little less forgiving when he starts kind of making some moves that he did. So we'll see what happens with it. We'll head on to Daytona, see what we can do.
Well, we get to run Daytona next week, but it's not the Daytona everyone's familiar with. It's a rough, bumpy 2007 version, and with that said, we get the IROC race before that, and then we got a special throwback with the WWE paints. What can we know that Frank's got the Nature Boy on his, but who do we got on your car this week?
I don't know anything about wrestling, and they're just like, yeah, we're doing this wrestling thing. We're going to have wrestlers on the car. It's going to be old school wrestlers. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I can, who's old school? I'm like, Brock Lesnar? Is he still considered old school? And they had to, talk about it, not really. So I'm going to have Brock Lesnar on the car, even though he's not necessarily an old school guy. So I'm going to throw him on there, and that's about all I know about wrestling because he's from Minnesota, and that's about all I got. Should be a fun race. I really like that track, the old school stuff, because it tears the crap out of your tires. It's super sketchy as far as what line you're running, and it honestly becomes a avoidance of everybody else that doesn't know what they're doing. And if you can do that, you can get a top 3.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and we'll be here, obviously, tuning into that. Hopefully everybody out there listening will be as well. But for that said, third place finish for you tonight. Sponsor shout-outs. Who helps you get that 51 up here?
Is your producer telling you to wrap it up yet, or what? I'm just going to sit here for a couple minutes. I'm just going to keep going for a couple minutes.
All right, go ahead.
The weather's nice up here. It's snowing a little bit because just thanks to everyone that worked with me tonight, I guess. One of those deals. I like having Best Buy on the car, even though it's a fake sponsor. Thanks to them. My wife allows me to have a steering wheel on my desk, which is pretty nice. My kid, who wrecked my car coming out of the pits in the truck race. That's why I ended up. I don't know if you guys noticed that my 51 truck was sitting down on pit road for the entire first 70 laps. It's because my kid grabbed on a steering wheel and pulled a straight left as we were leaving pit road to get gridded up. So that was fun. Beyond that, what's up with the reverse interviews tonight? You all right? Like third place.
We're trying something different.
Everybody's tuned out by now. They're just like, all right, we listen to the winner. Let's go. Like, who's this Jason Holtman's dude? Like, whatever. Like, they're tuned out. We can say whatever we want right now. We can go on. Nobody's watching.
You've been the most fun interview out of the 3.
Well, come on. Frank and Shane, they're real. Hang on. Him and the dude Shane. Car, Dollar General. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, wait, he's got a crappy mic, too. Hang on. That was pretty good. I don't know.
All right, well, I guess the interview's done right there. We can take the mic away from him, but anyway, congratulations to Jason Altman's getting his third place finish here tonight, and quite a
what?
Yeah, we'll let you stick around for the end.
All right.
Finish
I'll
things
hang
off here, though.
All right. Wrap it up. Sorry.
We appreciate that. Congratulations on your third place finish. But Brian, overall, it's been your first iSuper Speedway Series events in a while, but you got to like what you see in the feature format here tonight with the B main, and then those guys trying to qualify in, obviously, to get into the A main. And we saw a couple good races.
Oh yeah, I love everything about the way that iSuper Speedway does their series with the B main qualifying into the A main, and then just everything about it, the chase format, and it's just a very exciting environment. I'm glad I was able to join you here in the broadcast booth tonight. I hope I get to do it again in the next couple of weeks. I'd really like to be here next week for the WWE theme, because that would be very cool. As a longtime fan of wrestling, I'm very interested in seeing who's got which wrestlers on their cars. I'm hoping somebody's going to have a Sting car out there, because that's my favorite wrestler from back in the day, and I would really, really find that awesome if somebody did it. So if you guys are still listening down there and you haven't picked Sting as your driver or as your wrestler for next week, you need to do it, because it'll be a really cool thing to do.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what all these obviously will come out over time on Facebook. I'm sure over the course of the week we'll see a lot more come out as we do that. But we got to wrap it up. We're getting yelled at by our producer. So we're going to close things out here tonight. And I want to thank everyone who puts their time in here. Josh Ball, obviously, with the truck races. And then, of course, I want to thank Brian for jumping in with me.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
For this, I want to thank our special guest here this evening during the post-race with Jason Altman. Thank you.
Hey, let's wrap it up. Come on, guys.
For showing up, and we appreciate that. But make sure anything you want knowing about iSuper Speedway Series, visit them, iSuperspeedway.com, at Twitter at iSuperspeedway, of course at Facebook.com/iSuperspeedway, and you can stay up to date with everything of LSRTV online at livesimracing.com, and on Facebook at facebook.com/livesimracingtv. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, the USR Truck Series right here on LSRTV. Thank everybody for tuning in on iRacing Live as well, and we'll see you all tomorrow night right here on the best place to watch a race, LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
I'm Andy. This is LSRTV.